Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com, and I wanted to give my thoughts on Mizzou's 45-14 victory over New Mexico State last night. Obviously, there's not a lot you can take from this game. New Mexico State, that's an automatic win. It's not a game that you're supposed to learn anything from. But I did want to give a few thoughts because there are a couple of significant things to come out of that game. And something that I'm sure all of you want to talk about is Sam Horn, who saw his first action of his college career last night. First off, let's give Missouri credit. They went out there and they took care of a team that they should beat 10 times out of 10. I feel like that's important to mention a little bit because even though this season has been disappointing and there's been some toss-up games and really, okay, I have a lot to say, actually. So, Eli Drinkwitz has gotten a lot of flack this year. You guys know I'm a big Eli Drinkwitz fan. I'm a big Eli Drinkwitz defender. I believe in him. I believe in this program. I think we can get this thing going in the right direction. That said, this season, yes, it has been disappointing. And really, this team is a couple different plays in the Auburn and Florida game away from being a 7-win team, at least a 7-win team. And if this team wins 7 games this year, there's a totally different narrative right now about this football program. Everyone's happy with that. They're calling it progress. They're saying that this team is heading in the right direction. But instead, people are disappointed, and people are saying that Drinkwitz is on the hot seat. I disagree. And I think a lot of people, too, can agree with the fact, almost everyone agrees that if this team had a different quarterback, a slightly better quarterback, if Drinkwitz had landed, let's say Jaden Daniels in the transfer portal this past offseason, this Mizzou team wins 8 games, okay? So if you can agree with that, that means you're essentially saying that this team is a QB away from breaking through. And if you genuinely think this team is a QB away from breaking through, why would you fire a head coach whose team is only a quarterback away? That doesn't make any sense. You're saying the team is good enough besides the quarterback, they just have to get quarterback right. If that's the case, then I'm giving Drinkwitz another year, and next year's the judgment year, and let's hope we can get this thing right. But to say that Drinkwitz is on the hot seat or that you want to fire him and then simultaneously agree with the fact that if this team had a different quarterback, they'd be an 8-win team, you're not making any sense. If you want to knock Drink for not having a quarterback this year, I totally understand that. I agree. He should have gotten a quarterback. But he whiffed this past offseason in trying to get one. And sometimes you just whiff. It happens. But I think if given another year, we either find out that Sam Horn is the answer or Drinkwitz brings in a transfer quarterback and they end up being the answer. So I wanted to get that off my chest. I've kind of said that before in some of my other videos, and I'm kind of turning into a broken record. But seriously, this team is so close. They are so close to winning this division. They are so close to turning these close games into wins, and I believe they can if given one more offseason to fix the holes on this roster, build this program, implement the culture, because the team that we're currently seeing, even though they're not winning a lot, they play hard. They play really hard. They haven't given up. They play with heart. The defense is still amazing. The offense, even though we know it's incapable, they're trying. They're doing everything they can. This has been a really tough season for us as fans, but you also have to think about how tough it's been for those players and some of the ways they've lost. And to still come out fighting every week, the coach deserves credit for that. The team deserves credit. But I believe that Drinkwitz's biggest issue so far these past couple seasons is that he hasn't won enough of the toss-up games. But it's not like he's getting beat really bad in them. Over the past couple years, I look at the Kentucky game. I look at the Kentucky game last year. I look at the Florida game this year. I look at Boston College last year. Those are some of the games that, you have to win some of them. And Drinkwitz hasn't won enough of them. But the potential is right there. And really, in all those games, you can say if a couple plays go differently, then we're talking about a totally different trajectory of the program right now. And look, I know people are going to say, but it didn't happen. Those couple plays, they didn't happen. But it's important that Mizzou is close to winning these types of games as opposed to getting beat really bad in them. Because a lot of people like to compare Barry Odom and Eli Drinkwitz. And yes, through 3 seasons, Eli Drinkwitz hasn't really posted a better record than Barry Odom. But Drinkwitz has some better wins than Odom. He's taking care of business, unlike Odom, and a lot more of the time when he needed to. I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Mizzou took care of business. They beat New Mexico State. When Barry Odom was here, we saw some of the worst losses in program history. Middle Tennessee, Wyoming, losing to at home to Purdue 35-3. I mean, those are some of the games that we saw with Barry Odom. We've had some disappointing games with Eli Drinkwitz. We had games where it looks like the guys didn't show up or they were unprepared. And I get that, and that's frustrating. But Drinkwitz does not have any losses to a team that he just absolutely should not have lost to. And Drinkwitz has the recruiting to sell the fan base on. He has, I mean, last night was another example. Like Dalen Carnell, that guy looks like a stud. He's going to be very good for Mizzou. Tavarius Jones, the freshman running back, he flashed a little bit last night. We finally got to see Sam Horn, who I'll touch on in a little bit. And, you know, to me, that's reason to believe that Drinkwitz can get this thing right. Just keep stacking talent, keep stacking recruiting classes, and this team is going to be there in due time. I don't know. I just felt the need to go on that whole rant again about Eli Drinkwitz and how people feel about him, because I feel like, again, I know it's been disappointing this year and people want improvement right now, and I understand that, but we're closer to that improvement than people make it seem like. People make it seem like we're Vanderbilt. We're not Vanderbilt, okay? I'm still confident in the head coach and this program going forward. So I got that out of the way. Now, as for the game last night against New Mexico State, the offense scored 45 points, which, although it was against New Mexico State, is good to see because this Mizzou offense was averaging about 23 points per game on the year. So to see them score more than 23 points, that's a positive. And also, it's been reported, actually, that these past couple games, Eli Drinkwitz has handed off some of his play calling duties to Bush Hamden, the QB's coach, who was also involved in calling the offense back when he was with Washington. And we've seen the offense improve a little bit. I mean, even though Mizzou still got blown out against Tennessee, they put up 24 points in that game, and they were competitive before Tennessee just, unleashed on Missouri. And then last night, we definitely saw some nice things. That one fake pitch play to Barrett Bannister, that was really nice. That's something that we hadn't really seen this year. Brady Cook pushed the ball downfield a little bit more than he has. I also have noticed an increase in designed runs for Brady Cook, and those designed runs for Brady Cook have gone for huge gains. And I've always said we needed to do that more. Brady Cook's running ability is very underrated. Now, when the play breaks down, I feel like his decision-making on when to run is poor, but when you actually, draw up designed runs for him, he tends to do pretty well. And I also think this shows growth as a coach from Eli Drinkwitz, who has admitted before, maybe I need to hire an offensive coordinator, or, I called a terrible game. It's my fault. I take responsibility. He's still a young coach, and I think people, forget that a lot, is that Drinkwitz is still a really young coach. He only had 1 year of head coach experience before coming to Mizzou, and it's a big jump coming to the SEC and being a head coach. And so there's going to be growing pains there, and those growing pains are going to result in good things, such as Eli Drinkwitz realizing, hey, I maybe need to let go of some of the play calling, and he handed it off to Bush Hamden. And the offense, we've seen some better elements from them the past couple weeks. Luther Burden has still been heavily involved as well. He has, 3 touchdowns over the past 2 games, I believe. And, they're still insistent on giving him the ball. So, I think this offense is making progress, and I think with a better quarterback next year, it's very important that they get quarterback right, though, this team can do some damage in the SEC. Because even though Brady Cook has been better, and they've been taking advantage of his strengths, he's still not the answer at quarterback. And it sucks to say, but he's just not, and we have enough evidence of that by now. The defense also did their jobs last night. They weren't too disruptive, to be honest, not as disruptive as they usually are. And I think you have to consider the opponent that's on the other side being one of the reasons for that. Also, they had a lot of guys come out of the game due to injury. Chris Abrams-Drain, Isaiah McGuire, Joseph Charleston. Those are important pieces, and they all kind of fell out of the game as it went on. Isaiah McGuire wasn't even wearing pads anymore. I think right before the end of the first half, he just didn't even have his uniform on anymore, so not sure what's going on with him. They're going to need him next week against Arkansas, though. I know DJ Coleman had to come out a little bit with what seemed like a groin injury. So hopefully everybody that got hurt in this game is healthy and ready to go next week. We'll see. As far as some of the freshmen that got playing time, or the underclassmen that got playing time towards the end, you could definitely tell because they were missing a lot of tackles. And considering that a lot of these guys are probably going to be the next man up next year, hopefully they get that cleaned up. And that's just, some of the freshman jitters or, the fact that these guys haven't really played all year. Drinkwitz did say, though, that he was disappointed after the game with some of the guys that he didn't think they took advantage of their playing time. I would have to agree with that. But let's just talk about what you guys want to hear about. Sam Horn. He finally got to play last night. The long-anticipated debut of Sam Horn. He finally got put in the fourth quarter, and there was a big cheer from the crowd in the Mizzou sideline when he finally took the field. And it's funny because he was warming up on the sidelines a couple drives before he went in, and then Dalen Carnell got a pick six, and it was probably the most disappointing pick six ever because people just wanted to see Sam Horn take the field. And he finally did after that, after Mizzou's defense got another interception. And then Sam Horn got to operate on a short field. He comes in, runs for a first down on a QB draw, then throws a beautiful pass to Barrett Bannister that ends up going to the 1 yard line. And it was a beautiful ball. Gets called back because of an offensive line penalty, of course. And then the very next play, Horn tries to go deep again, misses, and then I believe right after that was the pass to Barrett Bannister where Bannister got popped by the defender. And Sam Horn, he'll learn quickly that you can't lead your receiver into that kind of pass. That's a dangerous situation, but it's his first game. He's a young kid trying to make a play. I'm not going to blame him for that. He'll just have to remember that in the future, though. From what we saw in the short time that he was on the field, though, he throws a good ball, and I think that's all Mizzou fans wanted to see. He pushed the ball downfield. Some people were upset that, I guess, he only got that one drive, and would more Sam Horn have been cool? Yeah. But, I mean, is a few more snaps in a garbage time game against New Mexico State really going to change much? Like, if Sam Horn isn't good in the future, it's not going to be because he didn't take a few more snaps in this game in garbage time. Like, that's just ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing to complain about. And I understand why Jack Abraham played, because it was senior night and he's a senior. So, like, I don't understand the fuss over that. Mizzou fans just wanted to see Sam Horn. They saw Sam Horn. He played. There you go. It might not even be the last time we see him this year either. Depending on what happens in the Arkansas game, he could play in that game. Or, if Mizzou does become bowl eligible or gets invited to a bowl, if they only finish 5-7, there's a very good chance he plays in either of those games. Obviously, though, next week is probably the biggest game of the season. You play Arkansas for bowl eligibility. A lot of people thought that maybe Arkansas would also be playing for bowl eligibility in this game, but they upset Ole Miss last night. Ole Miss was ranked, number 14 in the country? And Arkansas kind of ran them off the field. So looks like Arkansas has come back to life a little bit. I don't think Ole Miss's defense is as good as Missouri's, though. So that'll be a little bit of a test for Arkansas's offense. But Missouri will definitely have to score points in that game to beat Arkansas. And that's just something they've struggled to do. So we'll see if they're up to the task. But maybe that Arkansas has gained bowl eligibility now. They won't. I'm not going to say they won't try in the game, but it might not mean as much now if they win that game because they're already going to a bowl game. They're already bowl eligible. Mizzou still has to earn bowl eligibility, though, so hopefully they're up to the task. Hopefully they can get healthy, and Arkansas is probably the biggest game of the season next week. But those are really all my thoughts from this New Mexico State game. There's not much to take from the actual game, but those are just my biggest takeaways from the game. But yeah, that's really all I got, guys. So with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Mizzou fans can find this. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, what you thought of Sam Horn's 2 minutes of playing time last night. And yeah, I will see you guys again after the Arkansas game. But other than that, MIZ.